Protons in a Cloud. Every time we bring you a live show and we chat with our guests of the week on a topic we want to know more about. I'm Adrienne Kreft, one of your hosts and a technical evangelist for HPE Helion.
Hi, and I'm Sujay Maheshwari, your second host, and I'm a dev evangelist at HPE Helion. Welcome.
So there's a shift in focus happening on the West Coast, probably worldwide, and the momentum around Cloud Foundry is picking up. HPE Helion Development Platform 2.0 that was just released is one such representation.
Yep.
HDP 2.0 is a PaaS with a Docker engine for application delivery. So, and with the CI/CD and deployment tools all wrapped up in a pretty awesome package. So, thus today's episode, we give you a demo on demand.
Wow, lovely. And to celebrate the holidays and allow you to avoid the mall, we have we have our third winner for the HP Helion app challenge. So much time you can spend with your virtual reality gadget and the headset, which we are going to give it to you.
Yeah, super cool. So, but first, in all the sappy Thanksgiving traditions we celebrate here in the USA, Sujay, I'm very thankful for you and your bad jokes. But best colleague I could ask for.
Thank
And
you, Adrian.
and our team's commitment to helping generate awareness in the developer community and help all of you build your stack. So on Friday, I think we should all code for good instead of lining up outside of Best Buy.
Yeah, I've already shopped, for this Thanksgiving, and I'm coding for good, as you said. So we can be thankful that Cloud Foundry ecosystem specifically built to allow users choice in their cloud deployment, right? Developers' choice in their cloud deployment has garnered the support of so many tech giants. For example, it was only this past April that Microsoft announced its plans to support Cloud Foundry on Azure. Collaborations like these are big news for enterprise developers, Adrian.
Yep, agreed. And we can also be thankful for the Twitter fodder from the big players in the cloud name, stemming from 2015 really being the year of major tech deals. This gives analysts and Wall Street something to seriously talk about. And of course, Dell and EMC, the most recent and largest deal.
Absolutely. Uh, the buzzwords, big data and IoT, have entered a new age. There's new advances and a real value proposition to get customers to the future even faster. Now, considering 2015 was a milestone year since we are now back to the future of the unknown. Do you see what I did there?
I did. Back to
Another
the
poor
future
joke.
day. Good stuff. It never gets old. So the AWS cloud, as we know, is getting bigger every day, but Amazon is plotting wind farms. So, wind farms being renewable energy as the backbone and power source for current and future data centers. My hippie tree hugging upbringing is thankful.
After 2014's the year of the breach with major hacker attacks on big names and corporations, right? The data protection and a change in IT security practices for cloud overall has been a widespread focus. This fuels a hybrid cloud model, and maybe some aren't thankful for the resulting scandals.
Probably not if you're on the Ashley Madison list.
Oh God.
But there's also the props that we can give to leaders of large companies like Mark Zuckerberg, who are focusing on culture and not just cloud and competition. Workaholism shouldn't be mistaken as steadfast dedication, in my opinion. And I'm glad to see that CEOs are valuing maternity and paternity leave.
Absolutely, kudos to him. Uh, and there's been a steady increase in cloud utilization. IDG's 2015 cloud computing study states 72% of enterprises have at least one application running in the cloud, growing from 57% in 2012. So I see cloud in the forecast, and we are thankful for that, Adrian. Yes.
Yes, we are. So that's our list of what Sujay and I are thankful for this year. Hey everyone, we've brought back Gert Drapers from episode 1, if you remember him, as a mini celebration of our 10th week. So, Gert is the VP of HPE Helion Development Platform Engineering and has a great demo for us today. As we all know, the style of development has changed, and we're looking at releases on a monthly or even weekly cadence. And HDP 2.0 is being portrayed as a beefy release. So we'll see how HDP can help accelerate developers. So, Gert, welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so we're excited to see what you have for us today. So
All
take
right.
us through.
Okay. I'll steal the screen from you guys and take it from there. So let's hopefully this works. All right. So let's. I have one picture that I would want to use to. If these guys. Yep. There they go. To actually help us talk through some of the exciting news that I have to share. So at DockerCon, that was last week, yeah. We made some interesting announcements. So we introduced the Helion Development Platform 2.0, and what I want to do today is actually, first of all, talk you through what is all in there, but most importantly, also show something, one of the new products that we introduced. So let's just go through the stack. So one of the things that we announced is the newest version of Helion Staccato, which is our Cloud Foundry-based application hosting platform. Now the key thing there is the aspect that is like this is a true multi-IaaS hosting platform. So we offer the same capability on Helion OpenStack, regular OpenStack, AWS, Azure, and vSphere. And what that gives you is the ability to deploy your applications, like you know it on Cloud Foundry, on all these platforms in the same fashion. So that creates a degree of transparency that actually not many can offer today on a Cloud Foundry platform. Of course, it also supports full native Docker applications. And we always used to use Docker for our application process hosting underneath the DEAs, but we're also now supporting the ability to deploy Docker applications straight from the Docker Hub into a Cloud Foundry world. And of course, we support Windows. One of the things I actually showed at the Cloud Foundry Summit in Berlin 2 weeks ago now is our first incarnation of Windows container support. So that's, of course, closely related to the Docker work that we're doing. And so we created a new Garden Windows implementation that actually builds on top of Windows Server 2016. But we'll actually probably show that in a later session. That's probably more interesting. I'll skip over the second one because that's what the demo will be about. Of course, as part of the Helion Development Platform, we also updated the Helion OpenStack Application Services collection. And so, as you know, it's like we have a database as a service. That's the Trove project. We always delivered MySQL, but it's like we increased the cluster capabilities of MySQL. But more interesting, we actually added a couple of flavors to Trove. So you can now also host highly available MongoDB, Redis, and Vertica into the Trove project. Last but not least is we actually introduced a new service. So one of the new services that we introduced is a messaging as a service based on RabbitMQ called Project Q, and that is actually now been released as a GA product as part of the Helion Development Platform. Of course, all these services inside OpenStack integrate with the Monasca logging pipeline and are managed through the Ops Console effort. Okay. So let's go to the meat of actually what I want to talk about today, which is one of the interesting announcements that we made at DockerCon, which is Helion Code Engine. So Helion Code Engine is a CI/CD workflow tool chain that allows developers very easily to control their build, test, deploy, and validation pipeline. And we're really focusing on building cloud-native applications. and integrating this into other pieces that HP offers, like, for example, our load testing facilities to StormRunner, and you'll see this actually when we go through this. So what this allows you to do is build your applications, hook it up to your source code control system, deploy your applications automatically on any change into Cloud Foundry, and optionally into the Docker Hub. So let's break out of this slide session because slides are actually boring. Okay, so let's actually go look at Helion Code Engine. So what you see here is actually the first screen. Not really the first screen because I'm already logged in with my GitHub handle, which is the first thing when you would hit this endpoint. But let's go create a new project. So we'll walk you through the steps of setting up a new project and show you what you can do and how you can actually utilize the capabilities of the Helion Code Engine. So let's create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project. Projects, we're going to call it Protons. That seems like an appropriate name. We can select where our source code resides. So today we support GitHub and GitHub Enterprise. That's a list that is like ultimately we will extend, but these are two good starting points. And so it's like I'm going to click on GitHub. Since I'm already logged in, it will present me a list of all the numerous projects that I actually have access to. So let's find my Node application. So here we have Node Env. So we're going to select that. Okay, so we have that set up. Now the next step is that I need to select which branch I want the CI/CD system to work on. So normally it's like you probably don't want this to be running against master. So I created a branch called Protons. And then the next thing that I have to go do is associate this with a runtime or a project type. So as you can see today, we're supporting Node.js, Java, and Python. This is an extensible list, just like it is inside Cloud Foundry, closely related to the way we do build packs. And we're actually looking at leveraging the same kind of capabilities inside this CI/CD system. So we'll select Node.js, and we'll hook it up. Okay. So next, the next task ahead of me is defining where does the CI/CD pipeline actually deploy this to. It detected that there is a Docker file inside this repo. So that means it's like I have two options presented to me. I can deploy this to Cloud Foundry. That's what we will actually use to build and to deploy our applications and run our tests against. And then it's like I can use the Docker Hub to actually push the result as a Docker container into the Docker Hub, and then I could reuse it later again as a deployment source into my Cloud Foundry environment, of course. So let's set up an environment. So we'll go to Cloud Foundry. Let's give it an endpoint. We'll give it a name and my password. So hopefully if I didn't mistake this, it's like I can log in. Yes, I can. So give it a name. We'll call this the Cloud Foundry Development Environment. I'll select an organization that I have access to and a space. And then I save this. That's done. So now I have a Cloud Foundry environment set up. This is a reusable asset. What means is like that this environment can be shared between many projects. Then it's like the same thing for the Docker Hub. So let's actually create a Docker Hub setup. We'll call this the Docker Hub. I'll use my user ID or email. That's okay. The endpoint for the Docker Hub URL. And let's save this. Okay, so this is done. Next, I can actually use this link to invite other people to collaborate. Today, this is a one-man show. I'm sorry, so I'm not going to invite myself. But this allows you to actually easily connect up with other people inside your organization that can collaborate inside the project. So the last task that I can do is hook up actually a notification pipeline. So if you're running a CI/CD pipeline, in the background, it's very interesting to at least know what is going on. So I'm going to hook it up to the regular chat system that we use inside our own development environment into HipChat. So inside HipChat, I have HipChat open. It's like I already created a room for communication called the Code Engine Demo Room. I can actually go to integrations and log in here, and I need to go fetch my token for the Code Engine walls. So we can see it's in the room number, which is a little bit cryptically encoded inside the URL, but I need mainly this token. So let's go clean this out, and let's select HipChat. So we'll call this the HipChat, not the chip hat, HipChat. This has a room number, and it has a token. Okay, so let's save this. All right, so saving. Now I have a project. So what I can do next is like I can actually go and explore what my project has to offer. So my project has some targets, notification targets. As you can see, we register a webhook with GitHub. And so that will allow us to, when somebody sends in a commit into the particular branch, this will actually trigger a build. We have a communication channel set up with, in this case, HipChat or one of the other ones. And then it's like we can set up some post actions. So let's actually kick off a build right now and go from there. Here you see on the left-hand side, you see the environments. So you see the GitHub environment project that I'm building to. All right, so if I open this up, this will actually take me to the GitHub repo that is associated with this particular project. I can navigate to my Cloud Foundry instance. All right, and so that will try to log into my Cloud Foundry instance. And I can see that my application pipeline should be empty right now. So hopefully we'll get some results in there. And then it's like I can go to my my Docker Hub, and here you can see the link in case you forgot to invite some friends. It's like you can always grab that link from there and then use it to invite some people into your project. Okay, so we're all set. Let's actually kick off a build. And so right now, it's like what that will do is like I'm not going to trigger this by doing a commit. It's like that's probably not the most interesting use of our time here. I'm going to basically pick up the latest build that I created, or the latest commit that I created. So I made an update to this HTML file. I'm going to kick off a build. And so this is going to kick off the build in the background. It's like, and what we're doing here is we're actually going to set up a Docker container that we're going to use to bring the repo into. We're using that container to actually do the build and to create isolation. One of the things that you will see once we go to the Docker Hub, so if I would go in here and go to my Docker Hub account, you will see that it's like there is this node environment. This is one of the things that I already pushed. But the more interesting thing is here is that you see there are two builds. There's the hashtag for the first build, and there's called -test, and then there's the production one. So one of the things that we do is like when we actually build the source code, we build up a container, and that's the part of the build result. Then we run a set of tests, and we persist the test container separately. And why we do that is in case tests fail, and if you write good tests, they probably hopefully will because they protect you against unwanted changes. It gives you an environment that contains the state that made it fail, which makes it easier to debug. And you can actually look into the Docker container to figure out some of the changes that were made, and that makes it easier to actually go debug this. So let's go back here. We're actually building. Right now, it's like one of the things that we actually are going to improve upon is the fact that it's like we don't have a live log stream coming from the build yet. So it's like this is where Cloud Foundry actually provides us with a little bit more better in ongoing output, but this is something that is like we're actively working on into improving. That is like we can actually take the build output and stream that back into the console so people can see what's going on. Actually, let me go back to projects real quick while this is still building and look at the details, because I want to start showing something else. While this is building, I want to talk quickly about the post-deploy build actions. So one of the things that you can do is inside your pipeline, so you can build source code, you can run tests that we will see in a minute. It's like because there is a Mocha test associated with this project. But there are also post-build and post-deployment validation steps that you want to do. So one of the things that you might want to integrate into your CI/CD pipeline is the notion of load testing. And so let's bring in some post-deployment actions. So today it's like we hooked up StormRunner, which is an HP asset. You might know it from the on-premise world as LoadRunner. This is the web services version that allows you to actually generate high numbers of application loads to test your scalability. And so this is very interesting because it's like allows you to make this part of your standard engineering process. And it allows you to detect places where it's like you break down or where you regress. So let's add StormRunner to the mix. My username is my email name. So let's do that. And then it's like I have a password. I have a test number, but more importantly, I have a tenant ID. So let's test number 2. And it's like my tenant ID. Create storm. Okay. All right, so we save this and we make this part of the action. And so right now is like we're still building. It's like the first time is like it actually takes a moment to spin up and actually get all the Docker images pulled into the build environment. So right now it's like this is all using the public Docker Hub, and it also still runs on the HP public cloud, so there is a lot of traffic going back and forth. Normally you would set this up using your own local Docker Hub so you have better data locality and you don't have to push this into a public repository. So let's see if we're actually making some progress. This is still sitting there building.
Inger, while it's sitting, can you talk a little bit about why Docker for this release?
So yeah, so the reason why is like we actually chose Docker for this release, and why we use Docker as one of the underpinnings to deploy projects in here is because it provides a large degree of isolation. So it allows us to spin up builds in a very isolated fashion. But also it creates a reusable deployment artifact which allows us to push this application to any of the targets that I was talking about earlier. So by the fact that it's like that we are making this Cloud Foundry application platform available on Azure, AWS, OpenStack, vSphere, now it's like the next thing that people want is like, all right, it's like I have my development team, they're creating artifacts, and I want to make sure that it's like I deploy the same artifact over and over and over again. Certain of our customers express the need for this even internally to make sure that is like whatever is like comes out of the development pipeline is exactly what they're pushing into production. So they don't want to leverage the Cloud Foundry build pack model in this case. They actually want to know that it's like this is the output of builds. We have been we're certain that this is what we want, and we've validated this, and that's what we want to deploy over and over. So there is a certain degree of rigor and requirements with regards to where does it sourced from, what are the exec changes, where is this hosted, that you can provide by making this a Docker container. And in combination with the Docker Trusted Registry, you actually have even more capabilities in terms of making sure that there is better lineage and also better ownership tracking of these containers. So as you see, as like we actually finished the build. So the build, it's like it cloned the build. It actually did all the steps. It ran npm. It created some aspects, and then it actually created the container that was the result. Then it detected that there was a Mocha test that was associated. As you can see here, it ran a whopping amount of 7 tests in 10 seconds. But anyhow, it's like the whole point of this exercise is to show you what it actually can do. So it's like it picked this up from the environment, and now it's deploying this into a Cloud Foundry cluster. And so if I go to my Cloud Foundry environment, and I should refresh this, what we'll hopefully see is that there is an application that's being staged or has already been staged. So indeed, the application says it was staged. I can go visit the log stream. So it's like here you see is like the information about what was pushed, and so that should closely resemble actually what was pushed in here, because like that log stream should come out on the other end as well. So if I go to my application now and say view application, hopefully we have an application, and we do. So that actually allows us to go full round trip and see what happened inside this environment. Now, if we would kick off this one again, we actually added the post-deployment step now. So if we would do this same step again, it's like what would happen is like the same thing would start over, and it's like it would create run the storm runner tests. Now this kicks off and this lasts a while, so it's like I'm going to actually go to storm runner directly and show you like here is our node and application or test that we associated. And here we go. Sorry, load tests. All right. And so this is a result of earlier. Is like, and this is a very basic one ping test, but it's like the point is that it's like it allows you to actually start tracking measures about your application in terms of certain requests. And so now this test was like is a really artificial test. It's like it basically pings if the API endpoint of the application is available. And so here we're mainly is like we're not even bringing up loads, but it's like the whole point of this is that it's about building up a baseline of information and collecting this as a standard part of your engineering pipeline, which allows you to build better and more robust applications, and also is like that where you don't have to be afraid of the change that you're inducing inside your engineering pipeline. So that's the whole point about actually getting this integrated and allowing us to build these kind of applications. So with that, I think actually it's a good time to stop sharing my screen and get it back to you guys. I hope this was giving you a whirlwind tour of like how we can actually leverage Code Engine, build up something, integrate it into your engineering environment. It's like, and as I said, it's like it's really focused to make application developers make it much easier to have an alternative developer workflow that will still host it inside Cloud Foundry, can leverage the artifacts of Docker, and therefore it's like be more effective and have more enterprise applications coming out faster.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. That summary was perfect. I think that was a really interesting demo too, because we really have been looking for that, how you automated the whole deployment cycle and making sure that we meet the frequency, because I know that the developers are looking on for a faster way to meet those release cycles. So, and I'm glad you talked about StormRunner because I had heard rumors about the load testing integration. So that was great.
Yeah, so one of the aspects of integrating assets like StormRunner, and you saw something like Fortify, which is a static code analysis tool, into the pipeline, is that it relieves the developer to actually having to think about this, but the organization can at least rely on the fact that it's like these tests or these steps are being made during the engineering process. Somebody's tracking them, and if you use them correctly, you can use them to become a threshold. Right? The same as you can, for example, imagine that, and this is what we're doing in our own development practices, wire in code coverage and says like, hey, the code coverage before check-in was X. The code coverage after your check-in is Y. Is Y larger than X or not? And hopefully it's like you go to an improving model, so it's like you increase your coverage, but you should never regress it, right? Because that is a red flag. And so these tools really help you to stay honest and to provide a safety net for developers, because it's like we all make mistakes, right? It's like development is like there's still like a lot of room for improvement and making mistakes. People should be allowed to make mistakes, but this mitigates the risk, right? And that's all what this is about. Because at the end of the day, it's like if I can iterate once a day and my competitor iterates once a month, I can make 30 more mistakes than he does and still come out at the end winning.
Absolutely. Good. I have a quick question on the integrations which we are talking about. So, and maybe this is I'm jumping the gun or something, but will we be evolving as a product with more integrations from third-party tools and giving more capabilities with the CI/CD what we just saw?
So at the end of the day, yes, the vision is like that. It's like a CI/CD system. It's like at the rudimentary part is like, yeah, it needs to be able to do builds, it needs to be able to run tests, and it needs to be able to deploy. Great, we can do that.
Yep.
Now the value add is how can you augment this with the processes that an organization needs without necessarily sacrificing the usability, right?
Right.
Because it's like one of the things that is like we've been intentionally choosing for is to go for a usability model, which is like it really makes this simple, right? It's like this is why things are crafted inside environments and reusable post actions or post deployment actions. You can imagine that it's like there will be a post build action at some point. It's like to make this very pluggable. And so right now it's like this is a V1 product, right? This is a first step where it was like we're really proud of in terms of what we were able to achieve and the value that we're able to deliver specifically into a Cloud Foundry combined Docker world, right? And the scenario that I talked to earlier was a real one. It's like we had a lot of customers that said it's like development workflow, this is great. It's like they need to iterate fast, but the artifact coming out of development needs to be a reusable artifact that I can deploy to all my environments. And I need to make sure that that is the same one, that it's not tampered with, that it's secured, that it's signed, etc. That's why is like the usage of a Docker container is such an important piece of the puzzle. All right, and this is a piece of glue. And so that's why we're very happy that it's like this is now available and can be used by people.
All right, that was a great demo. And we haven't forgotten our online contest. The hashtag HPE Helion app has challenged you to build applications running on HPE Helion Staccato, right? And you receive an awesome T-shirt just for registering. One lucky winner chosen every week in November will receive an Oculus Rift DK2 version.
Yeah, and this week, CJ, if we have drum rolls yet again, I mean, I think We've got Raymond Tang. So, Raymond is a developer from BlackRock, hailing from New York. So, congratulations. We will contact you with additional details. This is your super awesome prize.
Woohoo! Lovely. Congratulations, Raymond. So, folks, please remember that all participants can register on our site and tweet a pic of the staccato command and just use the hashtag HPE Helion app. And of course, you can follow us on Two Protons to learn more.
Great. So, super fun. Sujay and I have a couple days off. I don't know what you're going to do with yourself, but I'll be on the couch eating popcorn, maybe catching up on every movie that I haven't had time to see.
Yes. Movie plan, yes.
Yeah. So, we'll see you guys all next week. Thank
Thank you.
you. He's just going to sit behind
Like
himself.
that. Happy that he can totally do it. Oh my god, he's freaking me out now.